All right, so cheers, my guy. Cheers.
Buen provecho.
Buen provecho. So okay. So on this first episode of the Alexander Ad Agency podcast, the whole purpose of the show is to talk candidly and unscripted, nothing script, about basically, the daily life of a small business owners and the things that we go through, the things that we normally, I guess, don't talk about, with other people, but mainly amongst, ourselves and other. So what got you in the business, I would say? What even made you even want to be an entrepreneur, like here in Miami, Florida? Like, what made you even decide to make that decision?
So, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And I say entrepreneurial because at 12 years old, you don't realize you have a business, but I became a DJ.
Nice.
And
okay.
when I became a DJ, I had my equipment, I had my clientele, I was getting booked out week after week. I had my driver who would drive me to different places, and we would have, sometimes 2 gigs at
nice.
a night, So that's where my inspiration for business owning started becoming, right?
Okay.
So we started charging people for house parties and then regular parties, anniversaries, and weddings and so on and so forth. So once we started doing that, then I realized there's a business in here. So I started hooking up with other DJs in other states.
Okay.
And then we created a collaboration and we created a corporation where we all would just name it one corporation and everybody would know who we are. So that's
nice.
Where the inspiration of entrepreneurial spirit started. That was one. Second thing is that in school I used to sell chocolates.
There you go. Okay.
And
was it the chocolate bars where it's like the long ones with the white label wrapping around it? Was it those?
Yeah.
Or was it the other?
No, it was the one that you bought at Costco or BJ's.
Gotcha.
Basically, they were just.
Okay. Oh, it's kind of like packs like M&Ms and other packs. Because sometimes they have those programs where it's like a bunch of chocolate bars.
Yeah, that the school does. Makes you fundraiser.
Okay, so it wasn't that, right?
No, it was on my own.
Nice.
It was my father would buy me a box.
Nice.
Of $30 and basically sell it for $1. And then I started increasing it to $1.50 because the nearest grocery store around my school was very far. And when people used to tell, well, I get that for like 75 cents. Well, go get it.
Exactly.
Go get it now.
Yep.
Supply and demand.
Boom. There you go. That's cool, man. That's cool. It's kind of, it's crazy. It's kind of like with me, right? How I kind of got into it, not necessarily on purpose. It's just kind of something where you were just doing things that were entrepreneurial and you didn't know at the time that it was kind of like that, right? Like business-wise. When I was in high school, I started going over here to Miami Palmetto High School down south in Pinecrest area. But long story short, I used to draw with Sharpies and markers on T-shirts, like custom designs with markers and pens and stuff like that. And I remember the first week I did it, I made $100 just by selling shirts for like $25 each, just from people knowing me as an artist at that time. I was the guy you would go to do your art homework for you because you didn't want to do it. And they'll pay me $5 and then I can go and get, pizza and whatever with that money and splurge with it. So that's kind of how I started. And then this was around that whole Ed Hardy era when Ed Hardy and Pharrell's clothing brand, the BBC Ice Cream.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, that's when it was like popping, and that I really liked those like those very colorful designs or whatever. So that kind of inspired me, and I kind of
always into art.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where my whole journey started with, I would say, entrepreneurial. And before that, I guess was one time when I was in, I believe it was middle school, and I was in art class doing this huge painting. Not painting. It was more of a huge sketch on this huge piece of brown paper, like these elephants. And I remember my art teacher told me she took it to like a art show, and then somebody offered to pay like $100 for it. So that was my first time with someone like offering to buy my work. Wow. So that was pretty cool. And then came high school with doing the whole T-shirt thing, and I was like, I want to do my own clothing brand. So that's when I ended up going to college or whatever. Actually, I went to college to learn how to do graphic design, was because I was doing everything by paper. So I was like, you know what? I know there's a more efficient way to do my work and make it better than make it digital. So I'm gonna learn how to do graphic design. But that's when I went to college or whatever.
So tell me a little bit about because that sounds like a hobby to me, what you started doing and started
Gotcha,
making
yeah.
money, right? But who taught you about business?
No one. I mean, if you think, no one really taught me. Not in my family. No one. It's something I had to learn on my own, or I took courses on it. But no one really taught me about business. It's just something I started accumulating throughout the years of whether doing freelance or working with other companies. But no one really taught me about business. I would say, like, from a first-hand perspective, like no one in the family, none of that. So there was no business talk.
So you just went through a lot of trial and error.
Oh, 100%. Through the whole process of just doing things and seeing what works, what doesn't work, what I like to do, going through that taking a longer route and just figuring it out. That's basically how I did it, or how I learned about business, I would say.
And I feel like we never stopped learning about business.
Never.
Because in reality, even though I had that business when I was young, like that wasn't the first legitimate business. That was a hobby I had going on, right? I got paid.
Yeah.
They say that a real legitimate job, it comes from when you get paid for something to do
100%.
something, right? So I was getting paid to do a job and entertain my people, but at the same time, it wasn't something where I lived off of this money.
I got you, yeah.
It wasn't something that I really did it because I needed to pay certain things, even though, yes, I did do it to pay certain things because my parents needed the extra help and everything else. However, I wouldn't do it for the need to sustain a family.
Exactly, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Now, when that transition happens, between a hobby, making extra money, want to buy some sneakers, want to buy some clothing, to now having to pay a household, when did that become for you?
So for me, that the transition happened from it being, let's say, freelance, because mainly when you're working for another company and you're doing work on the side, people consider it as freelance, even if you're trying to build another company. So for me, the transition happened was when I actually started making money, either the same amount of money that I was making at my regular job or more, to where I realized I was like, okay, now I can actually leave the company that I'm at and go on my own, and start taking it not just on the side, but actually into actual business, where something I can actually live off of and pay bills with and everything like that.
So you did it as a side hustle first, and then you transitioned?
Yeah, I would say it was, for me, it was like I was always basically a freelancer, doing work on the side projects, always keeping my connections open, because my regular job didn't really necessarily fulfill me fully, or I always, I love what I did. It wasn't just a 9 to 5. I love what I did, so I did it outside of work as well too. So designing, going to networking events, meeting certain people, keeping it open, letting everybody know that, hey, I do this, I provide that. But there's only so much you can do when you work for another company, right? And then you transition to, or you work for another company and you want to do something on the side. There's only so much time you have in between. But I would tell anybody, which would be my next question for you, like, okay, so I would tell anyone that's looking to get into business, right? Like, or that want to start their own business. I would say, do not quit your regular job to go, do not quit your regular job until you're actually making money doing what you're doing. Because you don't just quit your job and you're not making no money and then be like, or get a business loan and think that's what it takes. So you need to be making money on a small scale before you decide to do it on a big scale. You only quit when you're like, okay, now you can compensate. Don't quit your job before you go ahead and don't quit your job unless you're making money. Because what's gonna happen is what? You're gonna quit your job, you're not making no money, say I'm gonna focus on my side business. Shit's not gonna go good because you're out there looking at everybody else on social media, saying, seeing them, posting the gut life, saying that, oh yeah, we did this in 30 days, and you say, oh, I'm gonna go try to do the same thing, and you realize that's not how the real life works.
Yeah, and I would have appreciated that advice back then.
Yeah.
I kind of did it the reverse side, where I took a leap of faith and I just made it work. But it took a lot of work. I mean, I got evicted from my apartment. Before. I've been through the struggles, of all types to stay in business. And people only want to look at the great side and the final destination, but they don't look at the journey that's on the way up.
And that's easy. It's easy to look at it's easy to celebrate when you're quote unquote kind of winning, or you're having some good days, but then like, okay, so what do you do when you have bad days? Like, who do you talk to? Who can you go to for advice? What, how can you keep your mentality good and not overthinking and go running back to your job? Like, that's the real, conversations that we really don't have, and that's the type of conversations I want to have on, in this podcast. Like, what do you do? Like, what, so to tell like our experiences and things like that, because like a lot of people don't know, even though you may post certain things on social media, that's not the end all be all. That's not everything that, it looks glamorous and nice, but it's still a lot more work behind the scenes. Like, there's days where, even for me, where I may not even make enough money or make no money at all that day, or maybe it may stretch to 2 days, and I'm like, what the fuck, 2 days. I only been in business full time for about 1.5 years, less than 2 years. So it was like I never took a course on how to what do you do when you have those days, or how to try to prevent those days from happening. Even if I don't care if it's $5-10 you make from somebody paying you, how do you at least make some type of money so where it's not zero? Like, so those are the type of, I think that's the most important conversations, because those days are gonna happen. That can make or break a person.
Yeah, and I feel that in reality, our parents not being business owners was a kind of a good and bad thing. Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you why is a good thing, because they had steady income, and we saw them work for somebody their whole life.
Yep.
However, it also taught us the other side, which is they worked for somebody. They needed to ask for permission when they wanted it off. They slaved for this person, and then they left this company, and now they have nothing else.
Yep.
Right? So I appreciate them having that job and having a steady income and not having to worry about, anything else. But I also appreciate them having the steady income, so I can see what it feels like to be the other opposite side, where you make your own income and having to produce yourself.
Exactly. And kind of how we grew up, like you said, since our parents weren't necessarily major business owners where they can teach us certain things like early on, or at least in my case, right? For me, it's like let me see, get my point across. Okay, so it's like they can't necessarily, it's like, who do you, when you do try to go and make that switch into being, hey, I don't want to work for anyone, I want to go out and start my own business and do this or do that, most of the time your parents and your close family members are going to, tell you, try to convince you to stay, keep that job, or, they'll try to do whatever they think is safe, but they're not necessarily the ones to go to for business advice, because they're going to kind of like always try to keep you safe and hey, come back, this place is hiring, you don't have to worry about not getting paid. This place will pay you $20 an hour, So my goal, I really want to connect, have a place where we can talk to other people, or it's good to have, I feel like only other people that are doing the same thing that you're doing, in terms of they're out there they're hustling, they're start their own business and corporations and companies. You only know the struggle if you're kind of going through similar situations. Like, someone in your family or friends can cheer you up if they, on the outside say, yeah, man, I like what you're doing, keep going, keep doing your thing. But unless they actually know what you're going through, they can't really give you much advice, or they don't really understand that much unless they've gone through it or going through it with you. So I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs like me and you connecting with each other and talking and having these discussions where we can know who to go to for advice, because they've gone through it and been through it, and be like, yo, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, So you're gonna have those days where you won't get paid or won't make any money in, or it may seem overwhelming, right? So it's like,
and I was telling this to my mother the other day. I actually told her, listen, when you think you need money, you really don't. It's the day that you really, really, really starving, that money that you were waiting for finally hits.
Yeah.
Because the day you thought you were hungry, you weren't that hungry.
Yeah.
There's hungrier days.
Yep.
Right? And when you think about that, and you're in business, and you stop to think, oh, should I quit? Should I go and get my regular job? But then you say, you know what? I remember that day that I most needed that money, and that money came in. Because all the effort that I put into it came in the right time.
Yeah. And that, you know, it's crazy because that happens. The one of the best benefits of when you work for yourself is you can make an unlimited amount of money just in one day.
You can.
I remember me when I was working full-time graphic designer 2 years ago for a company, and I was getting paid about, let's say, $800 a week full-time, but then after taxes about $6 something, right? There's days in business that I'm in now today where I can make that in one day. Clients are, when the fucking stars are aligned and clients are paying up, everything, boom, 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 and that's one, and you go and look like shit. I remember, or even if it's $400, that's in one day when it took you 5 days and maybe some overtime to make that, right? So you're really gonna have those days where it's very successful, but then when you have the days where, I always try to keep this in mind, right? And for myself, you know, it's like, when I have the bad days, I always try to remind myself, like, hey, tomorrow, you know, you can wake up tomorrow and then somebody's gonna drop you some money, or a client's gonna send you a client that haven't paid in 2 months is finally gonna submit that payment, and then boom, you're fucking good. You made money that day. You made that. That's my whole definition of financial freedom, which I kind of mentioned to you earlier. I know it has a different meaning, but for me, financial freedom is when you're able to create and generate your own income. You don't have to go to and be at a physical job. You're generating your own money without being at another job, or, you know, you're getting paid a lot of money for your services. That's, for me, that's financial freedom, because you have the freedom to do basically what you want. So that's kind of my definition of it, and I think that's one of the best feelings. So when you have those days where it's slow or bad, you got to always keep in mind or make notes of what are the benefits, what is the major goal here, what am I doing? Like, I'm helping small business owners and entrepreneurs have a professional logo design at an affordable price. So I'm doing it for them. They don't have to worry about going and you know, searching, or, you know, you having crappy design work or getting scammed potentially online, which I hear stories about that all the time. So yeah, man, I mean, it's a lot. So I feel like, you know, us entrepreneurs connecting this way, or, you know, telling our stories, or, you know, talking about these things is one of the best things I like about this podcast and what I'm going to be doing, like, moving forward, for sure. Just having these candid, unscripted conversations, you know.
Yeah, and I felt that this was a great segment for my 2022 goal, because basically my goal was to give information out. Information out that you can't Google it.
Yeah.
You can't make it up.
Yeah.
It's real life.
Exactly.
And you need to pass through something, experience it, to then understand, wow, that's how they overcame it.
Yep.
I can overcome it too.
100%.
And, you know, one of the biggest things that I do for a business is I help businesses grow, and I help them expand, and I help them, you know, sell it, and be able to acquire other businesses, and so on and so forth. And, you know, I see their struggles. I see that they've been in business 60 years, you know, 40 years, 20 years, and they still go through their struggles today.
Yeah. And with that in mind, I mean, I've only been in business full time. That's what I mean by, I've always been kind of doing, you know, freelance work, even when I was with the other company. But when I say in business, like, it's only been, for me, when you mention somebody been in business for 60 years, it's like, I can't even fathom that, because I've only been fully full-time in business for almost 2 years, and I have a long way to go. And salute to that, right? Salute to that. So I'm like, and how long have you been in business, like full-time for yourself?
Well, full-time for myself, 14 years.
Nice.
Yeah, 14 years.
Nice.
And, you know, one of the things that I, like, pat myself in the back sometimes is most people run out of money after 2 years in business, 3 years.
Yep.
5 years max, right? But have I struggled? Absolutely. Absolutely. And do I struggle? Yeah.
So I got a question, right? With that in mind, let's say if someone is, and they got in the business for themselves, they're making a little bit of money doing what they're doing, but then they're starting to have like a lot of days where it's like, bro, I'm not even making enough money. Would you recommend that someone go back and get a part-time job? Because obviously you can't go and do no full-time job and expect to run a full-time business at the same time. Do you recommend that they go and get maybe some extra work on the side, just to kind of at least keep the roof over their head or pay bills while they're going through the thing if necessary. What do you think about that?
I'm the wrong person to ask because I'll tell you don't do that.
Gotcha.
And the reason why I'll say not to do that is because once something becomes a plan B,
yeah,
your plan A is not going to pan out. And I'm more of a person that when I'm focused and dedicated, like I'll focus and dedicate no matter what it takes, right? However, I've been through the starvation times where, you know, you have to look for money and sources of income to be able to support your family, right?
Yeah.
I was married at one point and I do have a child and everything else. And when that became a responsibility of mine, I understand that I have to make sacrifices and work a lot harder in order for me to provide. It's not like providing for myself.
Got you, yeah.
You know, but I'll say this to that question. I'll say when you're asking for help, sometimes it's too late.
Gotcha.
So what I mean by that, I had this bum in the corner of my house ask me for money.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a bum ask you for money and you're like, they're just wanting to drink or drugs or whatever?
Oh, 100%. I mean, all the time, every time, even at a light.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I've thought the same thing. However, every day I'll see the same bum, but with the same clothes.
Gotcha.
Just a little lighter. And lighter and lighter, and have, you know, their nails are dirty and their teeth is going bad, you know. Then you start noticing, man, this guy, he really needed money. So why I give you this analogy of the story? Well, the real reality is that sometimes we get to that degree to be humble enough to ask for help.
Okay.
So the number one advice or the number one recommendation I would give to somebody is don't ask for help when it's too late.
So catch on to it early. You know, shit, it doesn't just, like you said, it's not an overnight thing where it just completely drops. It led up to a bunch of small shit that you wasn't doing, to where you slacked on this area. You didn't reach out to those customers yourself, or you didn't do advertisement. You didn't post on social media. You didn't do the things that in the back of your mind is like, oh man, I should do this. I get around to it, and then it got to a point to where it started dipping. Then you wait until you're at the bottom where it's like, hey, you know, yeah, I 100% get what you're saying.
I've recruited for a living.
Okay.
I have grown businesses and employees, right? I have trained, developed, all of it. The key into having a successful business is always having activity, because you don't know who's gonna buy, when they're gonna buy, how they're gonna buy.
Unpredictable.
It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
What you could predict is what you're doing every single day. And some people feel like, oh my God, like I need money in order to advertise. My brother, you are a relationship building person.
Yep.
You know why I know that? Because I met you and we became friends.
Yep.
Right? So you are a relationship building person. What does that mean? That means that when you build relationships, you automatically become a person that I'm going to utilize to expand my business. How is that? Maybe you don't have the money to spend on my services, but somebody that you know does.
Exactly.
Now, the problem is I don't interview you, so I don't know your network. I don't know who you got. I don't know who you know until I start interviewing you. But it's not with the intention to interview you and get everything out of you because I'm just your friend for that.
Yeah.
It becomes a natural what you do. You naturally care for somebody, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, David, you know, I got you somebody. You know, these clients I have, you know, you should work with them.
Yep.
Right? That is a resourceful person.
Yep.
The problem most business owners have, once again, is they ask for help a little too late. And then secondly, I believe they don't even have a written business plan. They don't even know what they're doing Monday through Friday. Monday they're calling people, nobody answered. You know what? This calling stuff is whack. no success. I'm gonna try now Instagram. This Instagram, not working.
And the majority of them, they do it like when it comes to social media. Some people go in there, they'll try to go advertise themselves, go on their phone. Oh, I saw a button that says promote. Oh, I spent $50 in 2-3 days. I didn't get a result. It doesn't work for my business. And I always think like, you know, it's so much more behind it, or they have the wrong mentality. It takes a lot long. Think about it. You've been in business for years, and how long did it take you to where you actually was making money from it? You gotta think
So
about
actually
that.
promote.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
actually market.
Mhm.
Right? But in reality, I'm gonna tell you this secret, and you know, now I'm saying in front of the public.
Keep this between
But-
us, you guys.
but-
Keep this between us.
But in reality, I never had to market myself.
Got you.
And in reality, still don't want to market myself. I just want to give more content and more information out to the people that want to reach out.
Gotcha.
Right? And why is that? Well, I believe that when you're in business, you get to decide who you want to do business with or not.
Yep.
But when you are in the promoting side, you got to pick up whoever and
You're trying to grab
however.
whoever's willing to exactly.
Right? So at this point in my life, I'm not trying to do business with everybody who lives and breathes.
Yep.
There's a certain caliber of businesses that need to do business with me,
Yep.
right? But I decide that. You know, there's a saying, you can't get mad at somebody that you told them not to do it.
Yep.
That you never told them what to do.
Okay.
So, you ever got mad at a client because he was on the phone and didn't listen to your presentation?
Yep.
You never told them at the beginning that they couldn't be on their phone.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So why are you mad at them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because it's common sense? They should know? No.
Yeah.
There's rules that you give to people. And the
Yep.
problem that most people have is that they get mad at clients for doing something that they never told the client they should never do.
Got you. Okay.
So
But-
the one thing that I have a question in your business, right?
okay.
Man, I wish I was like a marketing guru, which some people will believe that I am a marketing guru, and I have marketing ideas. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But you're like a design guy, a art guy, a photographer. You know, it should be so easy for you to make money. In my light,
Yeah.
in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Take a business and just like revamp it and do it all. So I was asking you, what do you need in order to hit that million?
What do I need? So I would say before I even reach $1 million, how do I first? My goal is to first do it in increments. How do I hit let's say, how do I hit 50,000, right, on my own? Okay, so how do I go from 50,000 to 80,000 to $100,000? Do it in increments. Because if I knew how to make $1 million, I would have made it, yesterday. It's not so for me. I feel like doing it step by step, hitting the smaller numbers and then working my way up to it. Eventually, I'll hit it. I'll have the business function. It's where it's like, okay, I have this X amount of employees working for me and doing these different tasks, doing different design projects, to where it's like I'm building on to making that $1 million business. It's not necessarily, if I knew how to make it, I would have made it, tomorrow, right? So I would say build upon it.
So when are you gonna pick yourself up and get yourself a coach?
Get myself a coach?
Yes.
What do you mean by getting a coach?
Well, the greatest athletes and the greatest,
Meaning like a mentor for the space that I'm in. There's
coach.
someone that's out there that's big enough.
Or
Well,
it could be somebody in a different industry.
Well, I would say, yeah, that'd be great, helpful. But it's like, I mean, obviously coming from my background, it's like, how do I find that person or reach out to them? I haven't found someone in my business yet that I personally know. You may see people on the internet, which is one thing, but how do I find one? I mean, that's what this podcast is all about. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's not about finding them. It's you have one right next to you, right?
Yeah.
Who helps businesses grow and keep going, right?
Okay.
But the whole objective here is, what is your goal? Is it written? Who holds you accountable to those numbers?
Yes.
And how do you upscale yourself?
Yeah.
Right? Because the whole presentation nowadays is, it's not how much you can sell online.
yeah,
It's really how much can you be different from everybody else,
yep,
and why should people do business with you?
yeah.
that's one. Then you have a whole different side, which is now, do you have somebody who knows the structure that you gotta have in order to scale yourself and be $1 million earner
Yep.
and above?
Yeah.
Right? So it's not so much, only here. It's now having somebody to guide you in terms of being able to tell you where you're gonna go, how you're gonna get there, hold you accountable to what you said, how you said it, what they.
If you can definitely hold me accountable for it, that'd be great. That can push me, because it's like, how you need other people to push you outside of yourself. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, like when you live by yourself, right? Like, if you don't have, in my case, you don't have any kids or anything, like if you don't have any other person living with you, if you want to wake up early in the morning, normally when you have a kid, you have to wake up early, take them to school, so it's a no-brainer. I'm going to get up at 6, 7, but when you work for yourself, technically, you may sleep an extra 30 minutes, or you may, go to bed a lot later, so it's a lot more, but definitely me having someone like accountable for me, or I'm being accountable for other people, that would definitely help me, boost my momentum. If
you know what gets me up every day?
What?
Every day, a meeting that I have to go to gets me up every day.
Got you.
So if you can schedule your meetings early, do it.
Yeah.
Because
like today, I was up like 7:30.
It will get you
the
up.
The earliest I've been up this whole week, I think. Yeah.
Right. So it's important for you to get up on purpose. And what better purpose than you have a meeting schedule?
Yep.
Right? That's one. Number two, you gotta also be inspired by other things, right? So, for example, you might not have a vision board, but have it at least somewhere visible where you can know exactly what you want to do this year.
Yeah.
Such as, maybe I want to move into a bigger apartment.
Yeah.
Maybe I want a better car. Maybe I want, to scale my business and double my income from last year to this year.
Yeah.
Right? But once you have those goals, the difference between a dream and a goal is that a dream is like you're just dreaming about it, you're just thinking about it, you're hoping, you wish, right? A goal is, this is what it is, and these are the steps I'm gonna have to do, and these are the objections I'm gonna have to overcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So that's more what I was asking you, do you have a coach? Because I believe that without one, you probably won't get to your $1 million.
Yeah, I definitely need a coach. I mean, I do write my goals down and my tasks down on a daily basis or even the day before, but yeah, definitely that would help, I feel like moving forward with everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. And if somebody's new in business, right, you gotta understand how many clients do you need in order to hit a particular number.
Yep.
Right? So if you're gonna focus on photography, just for giggles, you focus on photography and you charge, I don't know, $1,000 per session.
Yeah.
Right? If you're gonna make $10,000 this week, how many photography sessions you need?
Exactly, 10.
You need 10, right?
Yep.
But where are you gonna get the 10 from? Right? And then once you get the 10, how are you gonna get 10 more next week?
Yep.
And the following, right? So you got to create a package deal that entices people to want to continue working with you and scale up with you.
Yeah.
Right? Results brings you clients. Results brings you clients.
Okay.
So you give people results, and they will come back.
Nice.
What people do in business nowadays is commissions, money is what drives them. But they make the commission and the money and then they are dried.
Got you.
If they focus on the results that they're providing for their client, whether you're a barber, you are a nail tech, you are a photographer, you are a consultant, you are a credit repair person, whatever you are, whatever you do, you got to bring the results.
Yeah.
Because results will bring you more clients and will keep you in business.
All right, so before I guess I end the show and let you go, so how can people find you on social media and your website? How can people find you and go follow you?
Well, they could find me on Instagram, VG Financial Partners, you know, and then the same VGFinancialPartners.com, you know, it's my website.
Perfect. So, yeah, man, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it. So,
I humbly thank you for this. You know, this was a vision once again, and
yeah, so
I wanted to continue.
Yeah, my goal is to get more business owners on, small business owners and or large business owners, whichever, just so we can continue to have the discussions and you know, talk about the daily lives of the daily things that we go through as entrepreneurs. So thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right,
Appreciate you.
for sure.
All right.